Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to another Cars and Coffee with me, Kenny Brown, where over the next hour or so, we're going to talk cars and cool stuff and all about performance. And if you're a car guy or gal that really wants to learn about performance and all that sort of stuff, you're in the right place because we got some really cool things to talk about today. Also, I'll be answering your questions. I've got some questions that were sent in, as well as don't forget that you can send in questions today, and we'll answer them at the end. You may see that my background is a little bit different today, and that's because kind of like the main tech subject is going to be talking about vented hoods and all the benefit that you can get from a vented hood. And that's I just saw we hang a hood up there behind me, and then of course I've got for those who haven't been with me for a while, I got my trusty toolbox. It's been with me since the 70s, and it's been to about every major racetrack in North America. So, going down my list today, we're going to talk about hoods. We have a lot of people say that don't you do anything for 550 Mustangs? Well, yes, we do. It's just that the 197 and the IRS 99-04 Cobras seem to be a real strong part of our business, but we actually do quite a bit with 550 cars. I've got a number of them we're working on right now. And of course, we got the questions that came in from the Speed Therapy Society, and we've got some really good questions today that we're going to talk about. I think we're waiting for more people to join us. And I forgot the YouTube, 3 buttons: subscribe, like, and the bell to get notifications. And Facebook guys and gals, hit the like and share. That helps us spread the word. And the more we can spread the word, the better things are. So I think I'm going to jump into some really good questions. Here's one from John. I've got a friend building a Resto Mod 67 Mustang and asked this question. On a triangulated 4-link, the upper bar needs to be angled downward to the front about 5 degrees, correct? I never measure the angle of upper control arms in a Fox body. Do any of you know the best angle for the street-driven pro touring style Mustang? Okay, that's kind of a interesting question because you're getting down to suspension geometry, and just to make an arbitrary thing that it needs to be angled down 5 degrees, I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, it's all about the side view swing arm geometry, which creates your instant center, and that's if you take the upper control arm and the lower control arm. Anyway, however, wherever they intersect, that becomes your instant center. Now, the thing is, if at that five degree down, if you jack the car up or lower the car, then all of a sudden the angle is going to increase. So that's an arbitrary number. You couldn't go by that. It all boils down to geometry. And the guys that have been in the academy or taken the academy know exactly what I'm talking about, because we went through the geometry on splayed 4-link rear suspensions, and the big problem with those is the roll center is just like way too high. But anyway, you said triangulated. I call it splayed 4-link. I can't say that 5 degrees is the right one. It depends on where's the lower one, where's it pointing. It all has to boil down to side view geometry. So I'm sorry I can't give you a good answer, but there's not. Unless this is a kit that somebody has made that says you need to have the 5 degree down, then try that. But I look at where's the intersection of the upper and lower control arm, because that's your instant center, and that's where your rear grip comes from, because that creates the anti-squat. So sorry I couldn't help you more than that, but like I say, those that have taken the academy know exactly what I'm talking about, because we spent a lot of time talking about suspension geometry. Matt, he had a question. Is that 8.8 track lock clutches have been replaced about approximately 3 years ago. I got a dozen autocross and maybe 3 track days in Ohio. The last in Ohio, the car fully hot operating temperatures, getting intermediate growl from the back in high load corners. Back at the pit, nothing seemed to be amiss. No rubbing, looseness were felt. with the trans gear and wheels in the air. Let's see, one wheel will break way out. Anyway, he's talking about the breaks way with torque. The clutch is worn out already. I'd say if you've got a clutch type differential and you got more than one event on it, they're worn out. I can go back to like '86 when we were running the Slim Mustangs, and we had to run the Ford clutch type differential. I mean, they wouldn't last but a couple hours in a race. What we ended up doing is we actually, you have to, when you put the spider gears in the pin, you have to kind of like turn the axle and twist it so they go into place. And what we did is we polished the daylights out of the path and the spider gears that run in there. And we put an extra disc an extra clutch disc in there, and it was so tight that Rex would get this great big bar, and he'd pull the axle until he could slide it in, and it would last for no more than 2 or 3 hours. And that's when we got together with Auburn up in Indiana, and they put together, they have like a cone type clutch. It's not like clutch disc, it's like a cone, and they actually put together a super aggressive cone differential for us, and it worked great. We had no problems with it. The trick was we did not run friction modifier, so we get the best possible grip out of the diff, and which was kind of cool on track. It was no noise at all, but as soon as we pull into the pits, there'd be this bang, bang, clunk, and that was the cones as they'd like skip across because there wasn't a friction modifier. The other thing he said about a groan, sometimes on some cars going around a corner that pick up a groan, it might be the rear brake pads. I've had that happen a couple of times. In fact, on the Mustang Challenge cars in 2010, I think, they were complaining about in some corners they'd get a groan out of the back. So we were testing, and I put a number of laps on the car, and the way to tell if it is the brake pad that's creating the groan is as you're going around the corner. As soon as it groans, put just a light tap on the brakes, and if the groan goes away, it's the brake pads. If the groan stays there, then it's more likely in the differential. So that's my diff thing. But if you want to have no problems at all, switch to a Torsen. Everything we do anymore is based off a Torsen because they are a torque sensing differential, which what that means is whichever wheel has the most torque or most traction is going to get the most torque. So switch over to a Torsen, and all your differential worries will go away, and you actually get better grip in all instances. Let's see, we had let's see. This is I want to pick up a little bit on Alessandro was talking about. He had kind of a really long thing about his. I think it's the 550 car. He's running in hard corners. He's getting fuel starvation if the tank isn't completely full, and I've only heard of that a couple times. We really didn't have that problem with any of my cars. But nevertheless, if he's having that problem, and somebody came up with a response, with a full-on race fuel cell, be out of the question. Well, the answer to that is not really. But the issue is, first of all, you're looking at probably anywhere from, say, $1,200, $1,500 just for the cell. Then you have to have all the stuff that makes it work. Then you have to cut out the trunk and build a frame that the fuel cell can sit in. And it would be, you can do it. It's a lot of work and a lot of expense. However, it's a really good thought, because the reason that fuel cells work so good, okay, is inside, of course, they've got the bladder. They got the outer shell, then they got the bladder, the ballistic bladder, so it won't break open under a crash. But inside, they're just packed with foam. They use this foam inside so that the gas doesn't slosh. It just kind of captures. So what that means is you can actually buy that foam in blocks. So you can go on like Fuel Safe and look it up, and you can buy blocks of foam. So what you could think of doing is, because you can get into both sides of the gas tank from the back seat, is pull the two tops off and cut up a bunch of foam so they squeeze in, and just pack everywhere you can. Just pack that gas tank full of the fuel cell foam, and that should help reduce the sloshing, because that's how fuel cells do it. So you might as well, instead of getting a full-on fuel cell, just pay I don't know, $100 or so to get the foam and just pack it inside your fuel tank on both sides, so the gas won't float around. So that's a recommendation for you. Let's see. Oh, Paul Dondero, member of the, he's in our academy class right now. He said, how to adjust camber at the track? What type of measurement gauge is appropriate? Okay, well, Paul, what you don't know is in the coming weeks, you're going to learn all about adjusting camber at the track. And the thing is that I typically at the track, I don't use a camber gauge to adjust camber. I mean, we'll use a camber gauge to get the initial camber setting, but from there, it's all based off of tire temperatures, and we'll be talking about that in the coming weeks. However, there's a number of ways for checking camber. I mean, go online. There's a whole bunch of different camber gauges out there that you can purchase, or you can get really creative. You know, I was in a spot, it was a while back, we didn't have, you know, my camber gauges disappeared, and we needed to check camber. So I looked around the shop and made my own. I came up with, I used a level, and this is, it's actually an angle gauge. I don't know if you can see that, but I actually just got two long 1/4-inch bolts and put it on a level, and instantaneously I've got a great and super accurate camber gauge, because you can, I don't know if you can see, yeah, you can see it as I move it, you can see the angle move. So, I mean, there's a lot of different ways you can, you know, most of the camber gauges are, I think they're overpriced, but they're like maybe a couple $100. You can also, you know, if you want to be on the value side, you can buy little angle gauges and just, again, like mount it to something. Little square angle gauges you can buy for like $20-30. And if they're magnetic, you can get just a piece of angle iron, stick it on there, and then put that on the wheel. And you got instantaneous camber gauge, just slick as can be. So let's see, what else have we got today? Can you explain the basic concept of weight management under various braking scenarios? You know, that's kind of a tough question to do, but you know, the whole idea of when you're driving a car on track, I mean, your primary job is weight management. You need to put the weight where it's going to do the most good. Under acceleration, you want the weight at the back of the car. Under deceleration, braking, and turning, you want the weight at the front of the car. So it's all about managing the weight. And it's if you don't know where the weight is, if you can't feel the weight, you're not going to go well. So I mean, the thing about driving, you need to concentrate. Okay, where is the weight? You know, going into a corner, you want that weight. As you hit the brakes, weight's going to transfer to the nose of the car. That's going to get it to turn. As you're accelerating, weight transfer to the back. So I mean, the different braking scenarios. I mean, there's, you know, how many different braking scenarios? There are tons of different scenarios. But at the end of the day, I mean, you always want to manage your weight for braking, acceleration, or even going around a corner. We'll go into a little more of that in the academy. But I mean, it's a good question. But it's like every corner, every braking situation is different, and in each one of those, you have to look at where's the weight. Where am I using the weight? I'll tell you a quick story. Evan Smith, who we've had on here, has been around forever. He's one of the, you know, the better magazine editors that have been in the industry a long time. Well, I was teaching him, and he was like scary fast. But what I mean by scary fast is he had some raw talent and he was quick, but he was not managing the weight. I mean, it's like we were driving along and I could not tell where the weight was on the car. And to me, that's not a good thing, because if it wouldn't take much of an upset in the chassis without knowing where the weight is to make something, you know, not happy happen. So once I got him into his head, you know, think about where's the weight? Is it in the front? Is it in the back? And once we got to that point, then all of a sudden he got really good. And he's been pretty good to this day. In fact, he's one of the best editors when it comes to track driving that is out there. Okay, let's move along to our tech topic, which is vented hoods. And you can see behind me, this is one of the Tiger hoods that my late son Paul developed a number of years ago. They're back into production. We had some problem getting them, but I think we can get them again. At least we got one hanging up here. Now here's the thing. What does a vented hood do other than look cool? Well, it does a number of things. If you're driving down the track, air is just rushing into the radiator. Okay, it's packing up in front of the radiator. It's forcing its way through, and once it gets through, where is it? It's packing itself into the engine compartment. So you're getting high pressure air, plus it's hot, it's expanding, which even makes it more high pressure. And the only place for it to go is down and out. Well, if you're building up all this air in the engine compartment and it's going down, what's happening is building up a small high pressure area under the front of the car, which, going down the straightaway, sometimes it makes it feel a little light. That's because you got like high pressure building up under the front of the car. By having a vented hood, two really good things happen. First, you get rid of that heat. All the heat that's building up in the engine compartment goes right at the top. It also means all that air that's coming through, that's building up pressure in the engine compartment, isn't gone down, it's gone up, which means that it's gone up. It's going to create a little bit of negative air pressure underneath the front of the car, which is going to help forward bite and grip, and also high-speed stability. When Ford was testing their Boss 302S, I think it may have been at Groton, this is a number of years ago, my late son Paul showed up with one of his hoods, like what's behind me, and they put it on the car. No other changes to the car. I can't remember the exact number, but pretty significant. It picked up like 1 or 2 seconds of lap time with no other changes in the hood. And that's why all the Boss 302S cars had this hood on it. So, I mean, vented hoods do two things. They let the heat out, they let the pressure out. I guess 3 things, and they give you better front grip and high-speed stability. So that's why all our track cars have vented hoods. This is one of the better ones, and we can now get them again. They were running behind a little while ago, but I think they're back into production. So they are available. And this one is carbon. What's the advantage of carbon? The hood weighs 7 pounds. If you think about that, I don't know if you've looked through the hood of a Mustang, even though they're supposed to be aluminum or whatever, they're pretty heavy. So you think if you replace that heavy hood with 7 pounds, I mean, that's taking, not only have you released the pressure, you let the heat out, but you've taken weight that's mounted high in the chassis, and you've gotten rid of it. So there's so many good things that happen with a vented hood, especially a carbon vented hood. Okay, let's see. Let's get to the S550 cars. Now, we have, like I say, we have people say, don't you have anything to do with the 550 cars? Yeah, well, actually, we do a lot. It's just that the 197s and the Cobras seem to be a really strong part of our business, especially on the IRS cars, because we're the only ones that really understand and support IRS. But I thought we'd put together some little things on a little presentation on the 550s, along with I got a list of everything we did. We're going to use Maryland as our example. That's the CSR that we built. 2017 CSR, that's just an amazing track car, just blisteringly fast. And so I thought we'd use that as an example, all the things we can do and do for 550 cars. So fingers crossed, we tried this technology thing before, and it worked once and failed 2 times in a row. So fingers crossed, and yay, it worked. Okay. Now, as we go through this presentation, then I'm going to go down and kind of list all the things that we do that's part of each section. So first of all, here's the different packages. Now, with our program, we've got base packages, which are sort of levels of performance. And from there, each car is specifically contented for the individual customer based on their needs, their budget, a lot of different things. We talk through, but we start with a basic level of performance, and then we kind of work from there. And the base one is sport touring, which is just what it says. I mean, it takes a Mustang and makes it a much cooler, more fun for touring or driving every day, without being getting too aggressive. And even one of our sports touring packages is totally comfortable on track. So just because it's a touring car doesn't necessarily mean you can't take it on track. And then we get the next level up is the GT4, which is a street performance car that you can take on track. That's the best way to put it. It's a level up from the sport touring. Everything's a little more aggressive, more content. more fun, more handling, more grip, more performance. And then the next level up from that is the GT4 CS or Club Sport. Now this is like some really serious track performance, and it's kind of like the GT4 is a street car you take on track, and the Club Sport is a track car you can drive on the street. That's the best way to look at it. And all of this is it's a matter of content. Everything gets a little bit better, and then the real killer track car is the GT4 CSR, the Club Sport R, and we're going to go through Maryland and just kind of show you how much stuff goes in there. And then of course we do some supercharged cars, and I only use on a Mustang. I only use centrifugal superchargers, and on the 550s it's all air to air on the intercooler. The air to air is more like a turbo would do, like a race turbo. A race car with turbos is air to air intercooler. And I only use centrifugal because it builds the power more in a linear fashion, where with the positive displacement like an Eaton or a Roush or a Whipple, you've got instantaneous boost, instantaneous torque, which coming off a corner, suddenly becomes you have to use your right foot to manage the torque so you don't light up the rear tires and lose grip and lose time. But with the centrifugal, like a Vortec or what's the other? Anyway, then what happens is the boost is more linear, which means the faster you go, the faster you go. So it suits a Mustang much better because you don't get that instant torque off the corner, and just keep putting your foot down and keep going faster and faster. So Pro Charger, that's the other one. The Vortec or the Pro Charger are the two that are centrifugal, and then of course we use the air-to-air intercooler. Okay, this is Meet Maryland, and Maryland is was kind of an interesting car. We name all our cars, and most of our customers name their cars. And Maryland was a pretty extensive project, and there's a lot of content to it. And when you have a lot of content, you're relying on a lot of different suppliers. And the one thing in the aftermarket about suppliers is they will let you down. That's a proven fact. So, through a number of delays, and we finally got Maryland put together. And it's kind of a really cool car. It was that 3-coat, a tricolor white. It's pretty gorgeous. So the reason it was named Maryland because it was a drop dead gorgeous platinum blonde that everybody wanted to get their hands on, but nobody could catch. So that's how the name Maryland came to be. So let's take a look at what is Maryland. Yeah, there's Maryland right there. And you can see that it just looks pretty potent. I mean, it looks totally planted, which it always is. I mean, the car is just amazing to drive. And you can see a lot of, I'll point out some things that we'll talk about more. We got the side splitters, we got the splitter, we got the tow hook, we got the oil cooler, we got the canards, we got the vented hood and the aero latches and the wing. You can see quite a bit of the outside things. And the front fenders are wider. They got the GT350 front fenders. Okay, engine performance. Okay, here's what we did to the engine, and it makes some pretty decent power. We use the comp stage 2 cams. If I did it again, I think I'd go to the stage 3 cams. And this is the stage 3 cams for the using the existing valve springs. We put in the Ford Racing steel billet oil pump. Anytime you have a front cover off of a modular motor, you want to put in the billet oil pump. And we use this as a 17. We use a GT350 intake manifold, GT350 throttle body. And of course, it got one of my baffled road race oil pans, which keeps the oil from sloshing around. It's kind of like the gas was sloshing around in Alessandro's gas tank. Well, the oil pans that we use are baffled so that the oil won't slosh as much, and you always have oil pressure. And of course, we have the cold air kit, and then engine oil separators to keep the, in fact, that's oil separator right there, keep oil from getting into the intake manifold. And any Coyote type engine really needs a oil separator, and you really only need them on the passenger side. It seems to be the worst side. And then it was tuned on the dyno, and of course it had Pedal Max. And Pedal Max is the coolest little piece of kit you can put in any car, Mustang, truck, van, SUV. Pedal Max is it's a little box, and it goes. You unplug your gas pedal is drive-by-wire. It's electronic, so you unplug the gas pedal from the loom, and you put the Pedal Max in between the loom and the gas pedal, and in simplest terms, it turbocharges your right foot. Okay, it actually speeds up the signal from the gas pedal to the throttle body, and I'm sure that if you're really paying attention, that driving one of these cars, that the pickup can be a little sluggish between the time you hit the gas and the time the car starts to go. Well, the Pedal Max just fixes all that, and they come with a little dial. You can dial, it goes from 0 to 100, and you can kind of pick just how quickly you want the accelerator to be. I typically, driving around town, I'll keep it about 60%. Gives me a good punch. On track, it would go up to like 80 or 90%. But around town, if it's raining or snowing or in parking lots, I'll turn it down to 0. And the reason I turn it down to 0 in parking lots is because if you hit the gas, the response of the throttle is so quick, the car will actually jump. So that's kind of what happens underneath the hood. And then, of course, jacking rails. Jacking rails are kind of essential for jacking the car up. And for the 550s, we've talked about this before, we have a really unique jacking rail. And that the body itself that these bolt to are at look like a 5-degree angle. So what we do, instead of using tubing, it would put the bottom of the rail at a 5-degree angle. We actually use these built out of flat steel. They're laser cut and then formed and welded together so that they mount flush on the body, but they're totally perpendicular to the ground, so you got a flat surface to jack on. Okay, now we get into our advanced suspension system. And for this, we put on, because it was a track car, the JRZ RS Pros, which are a double adjustable monotube with remote canister. And the RS Pros, it's a fabulous shock package for the 550s. Even though it's the RS series, which is sort of a club shock, it is just a smidgen short of a race shock, which makes it really, really a good shock to put in. And because it's monotube, we can see here we mounted it upside down, this is the line going to the remote canister, so it doesn't have to bounce up and down. But these JRZ Pros are just an amazing shock. And of course, I picked the specific spring rate for each individual car, each individual application. I'll pick the spring rate for. So it gets custom springs, and of course we include a spanner with that. And all the shocks that coilovers that come from me, as you probably know, are pre-adjusted. They're fully assembled and pre-adjusted with a starting adjustment and just a little bit of a tuning 101 tuning guide. And then instructions. If you have any questions, to call into me, and I'll give you some direction on tuning cars, on tuning the shocks. And then in the back, we've talked about this before, we do the IRS subframe support, where we lock the IRS subframe down so that it doesn't move all over the place. And this car started as a Performance Pack 1, which gives us a lot of extra stuff like the torsion and 373 gears and better suspension pieces. And then for the exhaust, we have a picture of exhaust. Yeah, okay, for the exhaust, is Bassani long tube stainless steel headers, X-pipe with high flow cats, and I'm reading my notes. High flow cats. Because it's going to be a track car, we only deliver cars with catalytic converters. Period. Absolutely no exceptions. But because this was going to be a track car, pretty much a dedicated track car, then we had the replacements for the catalytic converters in the trunk, so that when at the track you could switch it out. Because the catalytic converters on track will get really, really hot. And in some instances, if you go off track and it's summertime and dry grass, you light it on fire, they get so hot. And then we got the 3-inch stainless exhaust, and you can see these lovely little tips that come out the back. So moving up from the exhaust, what's on here doesn't match what's on my, oh yes it does, I'm in the wrong spot. Gosh, I haven't had enough coffee yet, I apologize for that. Drive line, talking about the drive line, this gets a shifter. The transmissions that come with the cars are not that great, but the shifters are even worse. So one of the first things we do is we throw away the factory shifter and put a shifter on that mounts completely 100% on the transmission, so it doesn't move around. So you get much better shifting. And we thought this car, a white knob, would be just the thing. It looked really awesome in there. And then the other thing in the drive line, we put aluminum drive shaft. Didn't need to do anything differential because it came with a Torsen and 373 gears. And then we also added a transmission cooling scoop. We didn't, for track day cars, only do like 20-minute sessions. Don't really see the need to do a transmission cooler. A full-on race car, for sure, we do a transmission cooler, but for 20-minute sessions, you can get by with just a transmission cooling scoop. And speaking of cooling, in the cooling department, we have our triple pass radiator, which is high capacity triple pass. We've talked about this before. That radiator, we're starting to sell a lot of those radiators. I think the word's getting out just how darn good these radiators are, and they're just a complete easy OE swap. They just drop right in. We have an SN95, 197s, and 550s, and it just makes a huge difference in cooling capacity. Even on the 550 cars, helps bring the oil temperature down, because I know a lot of people are concerned about that. We had one customer with a GT350 at Road America that took like almost 30 degrees of water temperature out at Road America with this radiator. So that's kind of like the really the first important step. But seeing this car was going down to Phoenix, then we put an engine oil cooler in there, and a pretty good sized oil cooler. But even so, it's thermostatically controlled, which means the oil cooler doesn't come on until oil temperature's over 180 degrees. And if it gets under 180 degrees, then the thermostat shuts it off. So the oil is always at least 180 degrees. And then the differential, the same thing. We use a thermostat controlled differential cooler. We wired into we hot wired into the car. So the driver doesn't have to worry about turning on a switch. And a long, long time ago, when we started doing oil coolers or diff coolers on the Cobras, and we had a little switch mounted up in the console. And what we found is a lot of times the guys get all kind of jacked up, ready to go on track, and they forget to turn it on, and they burn up their diff. So to avoid that, we just go to a thermostatically controlled system. And again, about 180 degrees, the pump and the fan click on, and we always use a fan on the cooler itself, because you can't, at the back of the car, you just can't rely on airflow to get to it and do its job. So depending on the location and where it is, it's either a pusher fan or a puller fan, but we always have a fan on the cooler, and it's wired with the pump. So pump comes on, fan comes on. And the cool thing about having wired into the system is that even when you pull into the pits, if the diff is still hot and you turn the car off, the diff pump is going to keep running until it gets cooled down. Where if you had it wired into, the key, you turn the key off, and all of a sudden all that heat sink and the diff is just going to stay hot. So what's next? Here's a shot of the radiator, and you can just see how thick that is. And believe it or not, as thick as that is, and it's a triple pass. Remember, it comes in one side, goes across, makes a U-turn, comes back across, makes a U-turn, goes back again. So it's highly efficient. And then the fins that we use in these are smaller, so we actually get like 17-18% more surface area than other 3-core radiators, which means more cooling. So it's like I say, they're getting to be really popular. We're starting to sell quite a few of them. I think the word's getting out that it's a really good thing to have. Okay, brakes. This is the front brakes and front brake cooling. I can tell you that we've tried a number to getting this hose in for a 550 car to the brakes is a real challenge. On different cars, we tried a number of different ways. Haven't come up with the ultimate, but you just have to get creative to get that hose, kind of snaked all the way back to get it up to the brakes. But brake cooling is super important for a track car. And we've talked about this before. I mean, the brakes get hot, plain and simple. If they get hot and you get natty even cool, because brake ducts improve the pad life and they improve rotor life. And they also improve safety because the brakes aren't going to get overheated and fail. Now, here's the Gonzo brakes that we put on Maryland. Now you say, oh, man, it looks pretty big. Well, just to give you an idea of just how big that is a 15-inch rotor. Okay, the rotor is 15-inch by 1.4. Most big brake kits are like a 14-inch rotor by 1.25. Well, this is 15-inch by 1.4. So it's a full-on race type rotor package. And if the disc is 15 inches, just look how big that caliper is. I mean, the caliper is massive, and the brake pad is bigger than the palm of your hand. In fact, the caliper itself is bigger than a license plate. If that kind of gives you an idea. So that's what we do up in the front. And of course, remember we talked about the fins, little lines in the rotors. We only use slotted rotors, no holes. Holes will crack. They always have to point forward to get the best operation. And then we can see, in the back we use our standard 6R, which is the Extreme 6R, which we've used for years on the 197 cars. But we use a full 14-inch, 15-inch rotor on the back with a 15 by 1.25 6-piston R calipers on the back. So when you talk about braking capability, man, you can haul this thing down from really high speed in no time at all. I mean, it just stops. And of course, we use stainless steel lines, and then as well as high temperature fluid. And the customer wanted black calipers, so we had a custom color of black with the red Kenny Brown and the white bear claw. Okay, interior. Oh, I forgot to mention the wheels. These are Ford's line wheels, and again, he wanted them black, so we got custom color of black powder coat. Is the VX1 monoblock wheels. Great wheel, open lugs, so it's easier to get the lugs on and off. And then also, it's 19 by 10.5 front and 19 by 11.5 rear. Okay, and then for tires, we put a 305/30/19 on the front and a 325/30/19 on the back, and Pirelli Trofeo R's. So it had like super sticky tires, super big, super sticky tires, and man, they grip. I mean, like I say, driving this car, I got to drive a little bit at the Corvette Museum track, and I was just blown away just how well this thing drove and how hard it gripped the road. So then moving on to safety, we came with the Recaros, so we added the Schroet. This is a 4-point single clip harness belt. And then we also, put in the roll bar. And so for a number of things, it's a safety measure. Plus we can mount the harnesses to it. Plus the rear seat delete to give that kind of like custom look. It looks really, really tidy inside with the roll bar and the rear seat delete. And then we get the aero on the hood. This is a different kind of vented hood. The one that, like the one that's behind me, the Tiger hood was not available at this time. So this actually has 3 sets of vents on either side and then in the middle. So there's plenty of cooling in the hood. And also this kind of shows the aero catches that we put on. Anytime that you put on a lightweight hood, you always, always, always have to put hood pins on of some kind. Now, over the years, we've evolved to using these aero catch, and you can see how slick they are. I mean, they're perfectly flush on the hood, so they don't have any issues with obstructing the airflow, and they look really cool. Now, most cars we mount north and south, but just through the nature of the curvature of the hood, it worked better to mount east and west, and they mounted really good there, and it looks great. So I mean, that's what we use as the aero catch. We use it pretty much exclusively on all our carbon hoods. Okay, now here's a good shot of the side aero, the side splitters. And what we've talked before, and we go over that in detail in the aero section of the Academy. In fact, speaking of aero in the Academy, the illustration that I think was in the email showing it's actually, I think it was a GT 500. That is actually one of the illustrations. They're in the aero section of the Academy. I spent 2 weeks talking about aero and how it works in a car and how to improve a car through aero. And this kind of gives you a really good shot of, this is the side splitter, and that keeps the air from rolling under the car. Air, as you go down the road, air wants to roll under the car because it's curved here. And by having a side splitter, it keeps it from rolling under, which helps keep the back of the car under negative and keep the car down and flat. Also shows you the front splitter that we put on, carbon splitter. And then because we're going from max downforce on this front and back, we added some really small, not huge, but just some small canards, just a little more front downforce along the splitter, the canards, and the hood. Really pull the front of the car down, and the side splitters, the wing, and the diffuser, which we'll see, hold the back of the car down. And there you can see, there's a good view of the splitter. And we decided to put this little red line on there. It just looks, it made it stand out and just really good. And you can see the curvature on the canard. And here's another picture of it. And they're not giant ones. They're pretty small. It's just, every little bit helps. And you can see here, they're just not huge, but they don't come out any further than the edge of the fenders, which is how I wanted it. I didn't want anything sticking out because that disrupts the airflow. It adds a little bit of downforce without disrupting the airflow. That's pretty cool. I like that shot. It also shows you just how big the tires are. Okay, and then here's a shot of the, we've got the GT 350 type fenders, and we knocked this out. So this actually is a vent, the front fender vent, to help reduce pressure that builds up under the fenders. Another aero thing actually has some aesthetic value too. This helps evacuate pressure that builds up within the fenders themselves. And then the rear wing, we use the 3D type wing, which has a raised section. And the purpose of that raised section is, especially for a sedan, as the air comes over the back of the car, having this raised section actually kind of induces the air to come under the wing more so than if it were flat all the way across. Anytime we use a lower wing, I like to use the 3D type to help pull air underneath it. In racing, we'd use a tall single plane wing because we can get it up in the airstream. But putting a great big tall wing on a street car / track car, really, it's kind of like we didn't want that look at me thing, driving down the street. So the cops say, "Hey, I think I'm gonna arrest that guy." So we put the 3D and mounted it low. It looked, as you can see, it looked pretty cool. And here's a diffuser we put underneath it. So we're using the side splitters, the diffuser, and the rear wing, all to create downforce at the back of the car. And that is about the closest anybody will get to this car. If you're following it, you won't follow it for long because it's going to be gone. I mean, the car is really, 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 really quick, and it's just absolute dream to drive. One of the nicest driving cars I've done. Even drives nicer than Ruby, my 197 car. So, I'm back. So for those that say, what do you do for 550s? Well, you can see we do a lot. And the content on all the 550s is just based off the individual, what your needs are, how you plan to use it. If you're a track guy, what your level of driving you're at. And then, of course, what your budget is. And I kind of, when we talk about all this, I try to come up with the best package. And if anybody wants to, talk more about a 550 and some planning, don't forget I do the 15-minute consults. As you know, asthma is a problem with me in the summertime. So a little bit of water will flush it down. So I think I got through pretty much everything. So if Kara, are you out there?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Do we have any more questions today?
We have a couple. I'm going to get to those, but first I need to preface it. I am dog sitting today for my son and daughter-in-law, and if you hear any panting, growling, or barking, it's not me.
Yeah, we're babysitting our grand doggies,
and they're both puppies, so be aware. Okay, so let's see. The first question that we have is from Mike Wolverton. Does Kenny have any thoughts? I'll put this up so people can see it. And add your questions. So we just have a couple here. If you have any questions, please add them. It doesn't have to be on today's subject and be on anything. And here's Mike Wolverton's question. Does Kenny have any thoughts on the 2021 Mach 1 with the handling package? Seems like many of the great GT350s and GT500 parts on a GT.
Okay, that's a good question. The handling, anything on the 550 cars, the handling package, to me, they're all undersprung, and especially if they've got the Magnarides. And typically, I have to look up. I think they come with like maybe a 130, 140, 150, somewhere in there front spring rate. And with the Magnaride, the best you can get is actually the GT350R front springs, which I think 240. All the other aftermarket springs are in the like 190 to 220 range, and that for street driving is fine. For track, it's like way undersprung. To give you an idea, on the 550s, our touring package is like a 350 front spring. Street performance, track performance would be a 500, 550, and then track performance, like was on Maryland, is a 650 front. So you can see that they're, to make a car really quick on track, you need some spring rate. And unfortunately, none of the factory cars don't have, in my view, this is my opinion, they don't have enough spring rate to really make them quick. So, and I think they're probably sharing some of the GT350 suspension bits, because that's kind of what Ford does, is they repurpose things that are already in the system. So, I mean, great street car, okay track car, but if you really want to get serious, and there's just not enough spring rate in there. And if you've got the Magnaride, then you're kind of, the best springs you can put on the front are the 350R springs, which I think are 240. So that's kind of my thought on spring rates. Like I said, a great street car, okay track car, but if you're really serious, you need a lot more spring. And if you have more spring, you need more shock. So that's why on Maryland we went to the RS Pro's fabulous shock package. And I think I was running a 650 springs on the front, and the back, because we went to coil on shock, not coil on control arm. I think I have to look at my notes, but either like a 650 or 700 in the back, and it just drove great. Okay, have we got another one?
Okay, we just have a couple comments right now. If you have any other questions, please add them to the comments, and Kenny will answer them. Mark is in the house. Mark says that it has shark gills like a GT350.
Yeah, it's actually the GT350 fenders, because we wanted to put the 305s in the front and wanted to be sure it had plenty of room. So we got the carbon GT350 fenders and then opened it up so it actually did vent. So it vented out the air in the fender. And Mark's the guy that reduced his heat at Road America with the triple pass radiator. Okay.
Cliff just has a comment. He says the GT CSR is one very nice car. Cliff, I think you have a beautiful car. So
yeah, Cliff's got a really nice car too. It's a FR 500S from the Mustang Challenge in 2009-10. Actually, one of the very same cars I engineered. And then we've got it in. We've updated it to. We really updated it. We made first update. We took it up to, because we want to kind of preserve, the integrity of the FR 500S. We updated it to 2011 Pirelli World Challenge GTS specs. In 2011, there was no place for the FR 500S cars to race because the Mustang Challenge ended. So SCCA let them into World Challenge with some updates. They could do the Ford heads, hot rod cams, intake manifold, throttle body. which we've done and made some really decent power. Actually, the Ford heads aren't available anymore, so we got a really nice set of stage 2 from Livernoise. It makes like 380 rear wheel horsepower, which is pretty decent for a 3-valve. And then we also did our AGS 4.5 suspension. 4.5 is the newest suspension with the K-Link at the back. And we're going to do another round of introduction on the K-Link and opportunity for people to purchase them. We've been through 2 rounds, and we have to do them rounds because it's such a complicated piece. It's not something you can just kick out like a whole bunch of widgets. And it takes some real effort to build them. But the results are totally amazing. We got guys that aren't picking up tenths of seconds in their lap times. They're picking up seconds, and not 1 or 2, but a lot of seconds just by adding the K-Link to the car. So we'll be talking about that in future weeks too. Anyway, it's a pretty sweet car. It's a really nice car. And also to help the aero, we added our front fender wickers. I think we showed that. We showed that like a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, last week we showed it. Last week
we showed the front wickers on his car, and we, of course, he's got the Tiger hood, and the wing that comes on the FR500S is not particularly efficient. In fact, kind of like the joke was back then, that it made 19 pounds of downforce at 0 miles an hour. So what we did, so to keep the integrity of the car, we just added just a little piece of aluminum angle on the back of the wing like a gurney, which actually will help the wing become a little more efficient. Plus, we added a diffuser at the back, again, to help the wing become more efficient. So it's going to have some pretty decent downforce. It's got some grunt. And then, of course, we got the JRZ single adjustables on there, which are, great track day shock. Okay, what does Joe want to know?
So Joe, Joe Johnson, do you need to retune the Magna Ride shocks if you put the R springs on the regular GT350? Now, Joe has a GT350.
Yeah, I don't have an answer for that because I just don't know. I don't know. You probably have to check with. There should be some people in the forums that would know the answer to that. I just do nothing with the Magna Ride, so I just have no answer for you. But I would think that, in the very least, you'd use the same strategy that the GT350R would use. But seeing as you already are a GT350, I don't really think you need to do much to it. I think you just put the springs on and drive. Would be my first guess. But then, like I said, I'm not an expert on Magna Ride. Okay.
Okay, so I have a couple announcements to make. First of all, this is the last call for the, if you have any questions, you need to add them to the chat and Kenny will answer. If not, you'll have to wait until next Saturday. So wanted to give a few announcements. Kenny's going to be doing a mini brake workshop July 31st. That's 2 Saturdays from now. If you're a Speed Therapy Society Facebook group member, you will get announcements in there. If you're not a Speed Therapy Society Facebook group member, you may want to join that group. There's a lot of great conversation going on in there. Kenny comes in now and then and does share some tech talks and things like that. So it's a really fun group to be in. And plus you'll be, we announce all our workshops in there, and that's where you can register for most of them. So anyway.
That's where the questions and subjects. If you want me to talk about a specific subject, send it in through there. And because I talk about what you guys want to know about. Like today, we've had some questions on hoods. I talked about hoods, and also some people want to know what we did with 550s. Well, now you know what we do with 550s. We can do a little, we do a lot. So yeah, send your, if you want me to cover a certain subject, send it into the society, and I'll put it on my schedule and do the best I can to answer your questions.
And again, that's a private Facebook group, and it's a Kenny Brown Speed Therapy Society group. If you want to look for that or Google that. Otherwise, there's a link right here that you can join. So it's a great group. Looks like, again, it's the last call for questions if you have any questions. So a couple things we're doing. I think Kenny mentioned some of them. We're doing the brake workshop July 31st. We're also doing another How to Transform Your Driving Experience, a 3-day workshop, and that's going to start August 9th. Again, you'll find out about that and where to register in the Speed Therapy Society Facebook group. So look for that. We do not have the link for that, but next week we'll have the link so you can register from there. Those of you that have taken it know what a value it is. Kenny goes over just all the steps and how to set up your car so you have a better driving experience. It's worthwhile. It's a free workshop. Also, the fall session of the Speed Therapy Academy is starting September 7th. It's a 16-week course, and it's, again, it's well worth the price of admission. Again, the fall session of the Speed Therapy Academy starts on September 7th. Let's see. Also, just for the people that watch this after the fact, we have a lot of people that watch it. They don't watch it live, but you watch it after the fact. You can find any of the Cars and Coffee on the Kenny Brown Performance TV YouTube channel. That has every single episode listed in there, and plus it has breakdowns if you're looking for brake tech, if you're looking for suspension tech. It's all broken down, so it's easy to find little tech tips in there. And let's see if we have any other questions. I think we're good to go, Ken. No questions.
Okay.
So
well, it's interesting. You gave everybody the new information on the workshop and the academy, and to give you ideas, how new that news was is the first I've heard of it. So I think I have to come in on Saturday mornings just to find out what's going on.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Ken. I guess I usually do break it to you. So
yeah, anyway. You break it to me in Cars and Coffee.
You're just a talent.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's what we have. So I think we're out of questions. So I guess we can say goodbye and see you next week.
Okay. Well, we're out of questions. If any comes in, I'll try to get to them. But apparently, we're done. I answered everybody's question, or you guys are getting so smart from watching Cars and Coffee that you don't even need to ask any questions anymore. So anyway, I'm glad you could join me this morning. I hope you learned something. But be sure to share this with your friends. Get your friends to join us, because the more the merrier. The more people we get, the better it's going to be. So really appreciate everybody showing up this morning. Again, I hope you learned something. And I'm not sure if I'm going to do next Saturday or not, but actually week after that's going to be the brake workshop. So you don't want to miss that. I mean, brakes are pretty darn important. A lot better to stop your car with a good set of brakes than a tree or a concrete wall. So with that, we're going to sign off for today. And if I don't see you next week, I'll see you the following week after. So have a good rest of your weekend and drive safe.